brewing.
Yes.
What's going on?
We are still a couple of months out from the new season of the A-League, but there's still been plenty to talk about, and for a lot of the key players in the code, it's a bit of an embarrassing time for them. 13 years after the A-League began, Australian football is on the brink of civil war, with FIFA threatening to intervene and take control of how the game is run in this country. At the heart of the issue is a dispute between the clubs and the FFA about power and money and just who should get how much of each. The clubs want a bigger share of the revenue and a greater voice when it comes to determining the future of the code. The FFA, well, what they want is for things to stay the way they are, and they're warning any change would see a return to the bad old days of the NSL. To tell us more, we're talking with former Socceroos captain Paul Wade. Wadey, welcome back to Weekend Breakfast.
Thank you. Good to be... Well, it's not good to be here talking about this, but, yeah, great talking to you.
Well, let's talk about this topic. Let's get straight to the heart of it. For you, what is your understanding at the moment of where things are at between FFA and FIFA?
Well, the FFA have got a Congress at the moment where they have all the member federations, like the states, have got 9 votes, and the players have 1. So basically, the players have no power. So if they put their hand up and saying, you know what, we're providing so much money that goes into the system, and we don't have a vote that can change any direction. So they've said, right, enough's enough. They called FIFA. They've come in and go, really? This is what you're actually working by? That's not going to work. It won't happen. If you don't change it, we're going to put a normalising committee in there to organise it. Now, this has only happened in Argentina and Guinea. So when you talked about embarrassing, on a major scale, people are looking at us going, really? I can't believe that's happening.
This sounds very familiar because cricket went through a similar thing. It's in terms of the revenue share and who gets what. Is that essentially what it's all about? Future revenue, media rights and the like.
Exactly right. They bring all the money. Well, they bring a major share of the money in, and we've got lots of issues on the table at the moment. Promotion and relegation. Do we increase from 10 teams to 12 teams? Are we going to have a second tier? All sorts of issues, and the direction with which that could go can only be helped by the clubs, and they haven't got a chance to actually guide us in that direction.
Well, if FIFA does intervene, Wadey, just what does it look like? You talked about the embarrassment levels, and they are at probably an all-time high. But for you, personally, you've got such a close association with this game in Australia. You've seen its growth. What does this do in terms of our standing in the global game?
Well, it is embarrassing. And the people I really feel for are the kids at the bottom of the food chain. You know, I can almost see both sides of the story. The FFA do a lot of good work. Let's not forget that. But the A-League clubs are pumping in all this money, and clubs are losing money hand over fist. I don't know. I think clubs need more power because those kids need to be able to have something to aim for. I want to be an A-League player, and from that they play for the national team and they go overseas.
So does this dispute and the way it's structured at the moment, does it actually threaten the viability of some of those clubs?
It will for some of them. I mean, at the end of the day, the guys, you don't go into organising or owning an A-League club to make money. It ain't going to happen. So, you know, they are going to lose money, but it's just a matter of how much. Maybe we can pull that back.
What could this mean for, it's essentially some ramifications maybe for some certain bids that we are trying to make? The FFA, of course, they're very keen to get the Women's World Cup hosting here in Australia. Would that happen?
FIFA, they've gone into other countries and taken control if they can't control themselves. So they're looking at bids for the Women's World Cup and they're thinking, right, we could go there, and they'll look at us and go, well, they can't even keep their own house in order. How are they going to organise a World Cup for women? So, yeah, that's on the table. It's scary. I'm not quite sure whether they'd be brave enough to punish the girls or the country for something that is probably, you know, can be solved like that. If people were open-minded, talking about Stephen Lowy, think of the big picture, you know. Some of the things that he's done and he's changed in the last few weeks are frightening.
Looking at this through the prism of what happened to Cricket Australia, is there something similar that could brew here with the FFA? Could we see a long drawn-out issue? Could we see implications for the way the game actually is played?
It's been going on for so long now, you know. FIFA have basically said, if this is not organised by November, you're gone. You're in all sorts of trouble until you can fix it. So everyone's saying, come on, FFA, let's do something about this. They're going, oh, hang on a minute, we can't just dive into things like that. Well, hang on, we've been talking about this for a couple of years now.
Can I just pick you up on something you said there? The changes, recent changes, to say, are frightening. How so?
Changes to...
Were you saying courtesy of Stephen Lowy?
There's a lot of... The mandate was, this is the way we're going to go. And then Stephen Lowy takes all these member federations, like the state federations, into a room, and within the next morning they all come out and they've all changed their minds. Now, the story is, did he dangle a carrot or did he dangle a stick in front of them? That was a quote that I heard. That, to me, is frightening, that a guy can have so much power that in one meeting he can change everybody's view of everything that goes on.
Well, a lot of people have been, or had a lot to say about just how he is running Football Federation of Australia. I think on a personal level he must be under pressure, but the whole board itself is very much under pressure. Paul Wade, thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully once we get some further developments on this, we'll get you back in so we can further analyse them. But
actually talk about the game on the field.
Yeah, how good would that be? In the meantime...
That's right. We'll get you in off the bench, I think, Wadey, because it's such a huge issue, guys, and it could have, as we've been talking about, massive ramifications for the code at large in Australia.
Georgie, thanks very much.
Okay, thanks, Georgie.